every week, sometimes every day, things change when you're doing an RV renovation. Let's check out what's happening now. One thing that happened right after we bought the RV is that we started ordering things because I was going to do the renovation, and it was so exciting getting packages and seeing things come together. And here's the exciting thing. We're back to ordering stuff and getting packages. We ordered the stools from Wayfair that we're going to use at the dining room table. We also ordered the totes that go into the cubbies. We ordered all the curtains and curtain rods, as well as a bunch of miscellaneous items that we knew we were going to need and we wanted to grab in this order. The things that we need to get done. First thing we need to get done is to rent a storage unit. There are some things in our home that we are not getting rid of, and that's a necessity. It also makes it easier to live in an RV when you're downsizing this much. We're also having our propane tank installed. It's a 120-gallon tank, which is a lot, but we're not worried about running out. Once the propane tank gets delivered, we will be leveling the RV. We also know what we need to get from AutoZone to do the generator oil change. So we are getting that done. One thing we want to do is find an electrician to come and put a separate 30 amp plug in just for the RV. We want to make sure that the electrical load on our son's house is not too much and that we have it set up the best way. We have a few odds and ends we need to get. And as always, trips to Home Depot are an ongoing and regular fun adventure. One thing I love that they do is cut wood for you. The pro to this is that you don't have to own saws. The con to this is that your measurements need to be accurate, and so do theirs. We have some odd jobs. We have to drill a hole in a shelf so that plugs can get inserted. We need to finish emptying the water tank. I didn't think I was doing it right, but I was. So now I just want to make sure all the water is drained down to that tank. We need to trim a piece of pegboard. We need to block the windows in our cab area of the truck portion of the RV.
This is my super professional way to make a template for the windows in the cab area to get it more perfect. The black cardboard inserts, really can't see because of the glare. They are in both of the doors. They are super imperfect, but will block most of the light coming out and will completely block the ability for somebody to see in. And that's what we wanted.
And I need to touch up some white paint. One thing that's fun, other than ordering things from Amazon and actually having some of those things be fun things, like all the mason jars that we're using, the hooks for the pegboard, the stuff that's not necessary to how things function, but are the actual fun things, and some decorating we've been talking about. Our style's kind of contemporary, industrial, really streamlined and clean looking. So we wanted to give some pops of color to spice things up. We got a lot in the mail and brought it to the RV. Taven's ladder was one of them, as well as the stools that we're going to sit on. And we had tons of boxes, all the curtains, the curtain rods, things that I knew needed to go to the RV. Bringing everything in, it was an absolute disastrous mess. Also, I forgot to bring the drill. Here it was in the other car where it didn't belong. I finished Dane's shelves, put all the treads on the ladder, as well as put the rubber stoppers on the top and bottom, installed all of the seats, and then I brought some of the curtains home to hem them.
I'm doing it this way because I couldn't get the tension to hold the bar. I had to get these hooks, and I saw them and thought, oh my gosh, these are going to fit this. And they do perfectly. So this is in now. It's hanging on the hooks from the wooden cab of Taven's bed. I did it based off of the screws on this, which wasn't perfectly even. However, it's hung, it's great. I'm super happy. Now we can hang clothes and not worry about it falling down.
Awesome.
Done. One of the issues that we had with the curtain rods that I got was that if you put a curtain rod here, you'd only be able to open the closet like this. So here was my solution. These are just large cup holders, and they happen to fit this perfectly. So what I did was I used a wooden dowel. I cut a couple inches off of it. I used these clear plastic end caps, fit those on, and then the curtain. That way it's super low profile and we can open the door all the way up.
Another thing that I did was I started unpacking sentimental items and placing them where I think I might want them to go. I did this on my side of the bed only so far. It makes it feel so much more like your own space when you have your special stuff where it's going to be. I do have museum putty. If the placement of these ends up being where I want to put these things, I will secure them. So when the RV moves, they'll be secure. I was able to get to the RV for several hours last week, which was amazing. There's so many tiny little things you don't even realize. I made 15 tie backs for the curtains. I did something super easy, super inexpensive. Also, it is something that you can purchase through Amazon, basically a tie with 2 loops on the end. If for some reason they don't work, I do have a backup that I'll purchase, but for now, I think they're going to be fine. There are a couple things that I need to wrap up. One, I still need to drill a hole in one of the shelves so that we can get our power cords up through it. It's just a matter of our son finding his drill bit and me grabbing it from him. Also, there are 2 things that I need to measure. I know that it's crazy in an RV to think, oh, I should have a dishwasher. It's also the thing that is the hardest for me in a normal home to let go of. Going to the laundromat, no big deal. Washing dishes by hand every single day, big deal to me. I have the dimensions of a small dishwasher and I want to see if it can fit. There's my number 1 area, my number 2 area, and it's also possible to store it and then pull it out and put it on a countertop. It might not work at all. It's at least worth giving it a shot. The other thing that I want to mention is that we have this absolute total wasted space in a corner. It does have a Lazy Susan in it, just the base shelf. And it doesn't make sense to me that they didn't do a 2-shelf Lazy Susan. It's pretty inexpensive to get that and install it. So I need to measure the size of the Lazy Susan so that I can order the appropriate size replacement. Another thing that I need to do is put the urethane on the butcher block that we stained and installed. We used tung oil, which I thought was great. I loved working with it. It was no big deal, but it's getting dinged up pretty hardcore and we haven't even gotten in to use it. Have all of that there. I just need to take the time to put it on in a couple different coats. We are also waiting to determine how the propane tank can be installed in the yard. We have an electrician coming next week to put us on a separate power source. Would love to get it on just a 30 amp breaker and a separate breaker that we can run the heavier duty computers that my husband and daughter have for gaming. And we also do mining on them. We have not done the oil change on the generator, and we also want to level the RV, but that's getting done after the propane tank has been installed since we have to move the RV out and back in anyway. Basically, the RV work is done. The renovation's done. There's a couple little things to follow up on. Most of them have a third party involved. That's pretty exciting. The countdown is on to move in. One issue we did have is that the propane tank that's on board on the RV is leaking. I don't know if it's something in the propane tank or the way it was turned off or a setting that I'm doing incorrectly from the last time it was filled up. Or since it worked fine last year, if something was disrupted in one of the lines, there's a new hot water heater that's been installed and we've done a lot of renovating. So I'm not sure if there's a disruption within the line or in the actual tank. The propane company that's installing the larger tank will help us determine that. If it is something in the RV, then I've already looked into it. I know what needs to get done, who needs to do it, and we would have to drive the RV to get that repaired professionally. That's it for the update this time. Stay tuned for more excitement.